Welcome to another edition of Bases and Balls with Jim Rosenhaus, broadcaster with the Cleveland Indians, takes time out of his week to join us each week here on WAKR. And, of course, it's brought to you by Jennings Heating and Cooling. Rosey, I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about you this week as far as broadcasting, prep for the game, and some of the things that have influenced you. And I guess my first question is, growing up, obviously you had a passion for baseball. Obviously, you had a passion for broadcasting. Who were some of the broadcasters you listened to? Maybe some role models as play-by-play announcers that you took to right away. Give us the background leading into where you are today.
Well, Ray, I think I don't know if they would be role models or not, but certainly the broadcaster I think I listened to the most first wasn't even baseball. It was when I was a kid, Marv Albert was doing radio for the Knicks and the Rangers. And at the time, the Knicks were in that pocket where they won a couple of titles. I don't remember the 69 one, but in 73, for sure. And, that was a time where I was young enough where you had to go to bed at 8 o'clock or 8:30. And you'd sneak the transistor radio underneath your pillow and listen to the end of the games. And so that was a lot of fun. And the Rangers were pretty good at the time. So growing up in that part of New Jersey, I must have listened to him all winter, whether it was hockey or basketball. And that was a lot of fun. But I think on the baseball side, the Mets always had really good announcers in Bob Murphy and Ralph Kiner and Lindsey Nelson. And then on the Yankees side, you had Phil Rizzuto, who was just hilarious. With Bill White and Frank Messer were the ones that I grew up with. So I don't know if I don't know that I ever modeled myself after them, but they were the ones I enjoyed because those were the teams in our area that you followed. So, maybe once I got into baseball, I always enjoyed picking up the games when John Miller was doing the Orioles. He was a lot of fun. And I mentioned the Yankees and Mets guys, and we could hear the Phillies guys too. So Harry Callis, you got to listen to, and every once in a while, at night you could pull in St. Louis and listen to Jack Buck, and even sometimes Cleveland too. So, it depended on how the stars were aligned. I think at night when the sun would go down, the amount of games you could pick up, but I'd just be scrolling through my transistor radio to try and find them all. And of course, that was before the internet, so you really had to kind of scramble to see what you could find.
Sounds like my youth. I used to crawl in the bed and I would listen to everything from Detroit to St. Louis to Philadelphia, even up into Toronto. We would hear some of those games. Sounds like a lot of fun. Now, obviously, you've had a career that took you from college to Buffalo to now into Cleveland. With all those announcers that you listened to on the professional side of things, was there any one or was it a multiple ones that you picked up some things that catered it to maybe your style of broadcasting?
I don't know, Ray. That's a hard question. I think you probably pull from different people just because maybe you listen to them. I know when I was in the minor leagues, I would send tapes out to different announcers and they would critique them, which was awesome. It was very, very helpful. And I think that helped a lot. But I think the most important thing, and Hammy has told me this, when I first started here, anytime I would ask him for advice, he would always say, "Hey, you got to be yourself. You can't try and be like someone else, or it's not going to come off well. So, you just got to be yourself and your personality. There's certain technical things in calling a game that you have to kind of stay true to, but especially baseball with so much downtime, you really have to be yourself on that." And that was one of the great tips that I got from him when I first started here.
Try broadcaster Jim Rosenhaus with us. Bases and Balls, brought to you by Jennings Heating and Cooling. Rosey, let's talk to now your broadcasts with the Cleveland Indians. You're back going to different stadiums this year, which I'm sure you and Hammy just love. Take us around Major League Baseball. Some of your favorite parks to broadcast from, and also from a cosmetic standpoint, what are your favorite ballparks to go into and work?
I would say broadcast-wise, and I got to take Progressive Field out of the equation because that's easily number one because it's your home place you can set up your booth the way you want and make it feel like home because you're there 81 nights a year and all that. So right away, that's right at the top. We can get that out of the way. But when we go on the road, where we were this week in Kansas City, great view, maybe the best location in the visiting parts we go to because it's close to home plate and you're low. A lot of the new parks, they built the press boxes way up high, so you have a kind of a cool view of the city if you're in a downtown park like a Pittsburgh or a Washington, some of the others, but you're really high up. So in Kansas City, the view of, you can see the pitches so well, and you just feel like you're close to the action. So that's a really good one. Obviously ballparks, I think Fenway and Wrigley are the old classics that, when you walk in, it just feels like you're walking into a time machine because they've managed to keep them as old as they can feel wise while adding some new amenities. I know Wrigley's kind of, they've done a bunch of different things in recent years to modernize it, but I think they've still kept it a little bit, and Fenway is still Fenway. It really is. So I think those are the two old ones that are fun. San Francisco, the Giants ballpark, love it. One of the nice ones that we don't go to a whole lot, but just a beautiful location down by the bay. And Ray, there's a part of me that loves the Oakland Coliseum because it's old, it's smelly, it's dirty, the fans are rough, but it's old school because there's no amenities there, and it's usually a fun time. And they play a lot of day games there, which is nice. And I still like the Coliseum. I know we won't be going there much longer, it doesn't sound like, but I still like it.
Well, it's interesting. On my hit list, my son and I, and Rocco, he wants me to take him to the ballpark in San Francisco. He says, that's the one, Dad, we've got to go to. So we're kind of circling that a little bit. Tri broadcaster Jim Rosenhaus with us, bases and balls. And then to close out the show today, Rosie, one area that we haven't talked a whole lot about this year, but man, have we been crippled with injuries, and that is the catching position. From Roberto Perez on down the line, we get Wilson Ramos. Boom, he goes out with an injury. And now we're back into the injury bug again. And that's difficult, not only for us in the lineup and the catching, but the pitching staff as well. And I thought maybe you could look at that catching position, how critical it is. And with the injuries that we've had this year, that's been a big blow to us.
Well, you know what? It has to some extent, Ray, but Austin Hedges has stepped up and been tremendous for that pitching staff. Pitchers up and down the rotation and in the bullpen really credit him with not only blocking pitches in the dirt, but the way he prepares and gets them to throw their best stuff on a given night. So he's out there most of the time right now. Now you can't wear him out and run him into the ground. Hopefully Roberto Perez is on the way back soon. He's out on a rehab assignment down by you guys, and that's good. That's good timing, certainly. They might be able to. I think they wanted to dip into AAA and bring up Ryan LaBarnway again, but he was put in COVID protocols. But it sounds like he might be through that by the end of this week. So maybe we'll see him over the weekend in Boston, maybe on the next homestand. But for right now, Austin Hedges is that Iron Man, and we'll see how long he goes.
There you go. Bases and balls. A Tri broadcaster Jim Rosenhaus takes time out of his busy schedule to join us each week on WAKR. Brought to you by Jennings Heating and Cooling. My friend Rosie will listen to you all weekend long with great broadcasts for the Indians. Thanks for the time, my friend, and we'll get together for another show next week.
Thanks, Ray.